welcome back to Autism Twins and Us. Today is just going to be a little short video to show you some of the sensory stuff that Amy managed to get through Give the Child a Chance charity through CAMS, which is a local charity. So we'll share the details of like where we got it from. So if you are local to like near where we are, you might be able to go and get some stuff, which is for free because it's a charity. So we're going to show you those, and then we're just going to have a little, just going to give you a little brief overview of the sensory issues that the boys have, which are both slightly different, and why they may have them, etc. So yeah, we're just going to show you them. So whilst Amy is just putting her new phone cover on, which George broke, these are things that, did the CAMS woman bring them with her once for him to play with?
Yeah, because isn't it annoying when you get a bubble in the middle? Because we did a whole sensory report for George.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And it shows that he is quite complex with his sensory needs.
Sensory
so she said,
driven.
oh, we'll bring you round some bits. So this is called the vibrating snake. Haven't got a battery in it at the moment, but you can undo it. When she brought this round, he really liked it.
It was quite vigorous, wasn't it, actually? It was like really...
And he was just sat there like that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
On his neck. So he liked that. And then the other one for sort of compression and to help with his anxiety is, it's actually quite heavy.
I put all the little pads in earlier. It's basically got weighted bead sort of pads which slot on the inside. So it's just like a neoprene vest.
So all the bags of like the weights
Winnie.
go in the little pockets inside, and then they just velcro up.
So then you can basically wear it
on the side. So I thought that was good. So basically, I was talking one day to our CAMS woman.
Get off it, Winnie.
And then she mentioned the charity Give a Child a Chance, which I'd never heard about. And she said, just send them an email and tell them what you want. And so in the time that I emailed her to ask her for those two things, to the time that she actually delivered it in person to me was 3 days. So
yeah, we didn't, obviously we had to go through, it was sort of through CAMS, it was recommended that he could get a couple of things basically free because it's a charity. I'll share the link in the description and like some pictures.
Yeah, because she said that they're not a very well known charity, so that any like publicity for them.
But I will say that they are local charity, so if you're somewhere else in the UK, you probably might not be able to access it, but I'm sure they're similar through their CAMS. But this one's called Give a Child a Chance. So once we get the batteries, we'll give it to George. I'm not going to give it to him before then because we didn't realise it's massive, like two big 1.5 volt batteries that need to go in it, which we thought we had.
And I've just got those off Amazon.
So they're just Chewies.
Matthew's sensory needs compared to George's they're so different. Matthew's got a huge thing with smell
and noise. And
well, the only thing I can refer it to really is how he's been lately. It's like a baby when they've constantly got their hands in their mouth. And I bought George Chewies, and he's never really been that bothered about it.
No.
And I gave Matthew a Chewy, and he took to it straight away.
Just stopped him eating his hands all the time. And
so he's actually chewed through a few, so I got a pack of those because he likes the straighter ones.
Longer, and a bit thicker.
So I got a pack of those for him on Amazon, so they'll help.
So yeah, I did show Matthew's Chewy the other day that he was using. So Matthew sometimes uses a Chewy, don't you? Why do you like using the Chewy? Why don't you tell people why you like using it?
The reason why I like using Chewies is because when I suck my fingers, it just seems I get a little embarrassed sometimes when I use Chewies.
And they might get sore, your fingers as well, don't they?
That's why I use Chewies.
So you use them sometimes like a sensory chewy. Not all the time, just now and then, don't you? Just sometimes when you come home and stuff, have a little chewy. So that's cool. So yeah, I asked Matthew to do a little clip of why he likes the chewies. I don't know why he likes them, but if anyone doesn't know much about sensory stuff, I'll put some stuff up. But basically, it's the 5 senses. So like touch. So that's where George likes tight compression, hugs, fighting, like stamping, hitting things. So like touch, smell is one, taste obviously is one. So where they're mouthing things and stuff like that, and taste of certain foods is a problem. What was the other thing? Hearing. So Matthew cannot handle loud noises. That doesn't bother George, but it does with Matthew.
Yeah.
So hand dries in toilets, so that's why he has to have a toilet pass. George, that doesn't bother. But I'll put some of the stuff up on the bottom of the screen whilst we're just talking about this stuff, and why it can affect their sort of daily lives, basically to do with the proprioception, so which is why we're now walking George to school, because it gives him a chance to stamp it out a little bit on the way to school, which helps him going in. And the vestibular sense, so spinning, that's another thing why George is constantly spinning, which is why you'll see him in these 2 chairs. And Amy has got him a spinning fish for Christmas, because he's getting to the point where those 2 chairs now
I'll actually show you what I've bought.
Are nearly too small, really.
You can just Google it. It's called a gonge carousel.
So it's like, it's not a fish, that one, it's just a smooth. So basically he'll spin real fast on that from looking at the videos. He goes really fast on that one anyway. But yeah, George is really like spinning and stuff like that. So it really helps with his sensory needs. So when he has a spin, he seems to calm down after that. Same reason why they put him in the soft room in school when he's having a bit of a meltdown, and he'll smash the heck out of everything in there, which he's meant to do, and then he calms down after that.
Well, he takes himself in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, when he wants to let off a bit of steam, he'll go in there. They'll say he took himself in there. So yeah, there's a big, both the boys have got big sensory needs, not issues, sensory needs, which we need to try to fulfill when we can. Obviously with sensory needs, you get a lot of risk taking. So George, with jumping, climbing and all that sort of thing, there's obviously things you can do to help that at home.
You know what annoys me the most about his climbing and stuff is the partition bit there.
Yeah, so he climbs up on this partition, jumps on the sofa and stuff like that. I mean, the only way to get around that in a home setting is to get trampolines, things like that, but we haven't really got the space for a trampoline. We could probably do it when we get the garden completely done and it's sorted, then we will, I think, get one. But at the moment, there's just not room out there, and it's just not safe for him to have one out there. We will probably get one. Don't go on that, Winnie. We will probably get one when we get the room to do it. But yeah, bouncing. We did have a small trampoline when they were babies, but he didn't really take to it. And he was just using it to bounce off it and jump onto the sofa. So it was just getting dangerous. So, yeah.
The thing is, we've tried so many different things. I definitely think that one of the best things that I've bought, especially for George to like calm him down or whatever, is those chairs. Yeah,
100%. The chairs, which is all to do with his vestibular senses, his balance and stuff like that. And when he has a spin, like he comes home from school, and sometimes he'll sit me on the way home from school, spinning chair, George, because he needs to. It feels like he needs to do it. Matthew does go on him occasionally, but not nowhere near as much. Nowhere near. He like now and then, maybe once a week, he might go on it for 5 minutes. George is on it every day, 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. So hopefully that new carousel thing will be good, because these are getting to the point where they're nearly too small, aren't they, really? He's hanging out of them, like, you know. He can still spin on them, but his legs are hanging out everywhere, and he's whacking his feet off things.
I mean, I know there's a big price difference. Like this one that I've got, George, is 150. They're 50 from IKEA.
But they're perfect for any kids that's small enough for them.
Yep.
They've lasted a while. And even I sent a thing to IKEA and got loads of spare parts for the insides, what break occasionally. And you can take them apart, put the pins in, and put the plastic balls in.
Yeah, so
I've done that several times.
When we pass them on, we can give them the spare bits if there's any left.
I haven't got many left, to be honest. But all you got to do is email IKEA and they'll send you with the part numbers and they'll send them. So we haven't even got the hoods on them anymore because with the hoods you couldn't fit in them anymore.
And it's only 20 days until Christmas.
Amy's pretty much set for them anyway, so we ain't got much to do. Just get Amy some more presents, really. But yeah, I'm going to have to stop the video there. We'll go and get the boys from school, and I might add a little bit more to, we're talking about the sensory needs and why they need them when I get back. So just wanted to add a little bit of context or something I've written down regarding the sensory seeking behaviour, which I'm going to read off my notes that I've put down for anyone that's looking at sensory seeking behaviour and not sure what to do about it and stuff like that. So basically the sensory seeking behaviour is seeking out sensory experiences across your 5 senses, which is sound, smell, taste, sight and touch. So your 5 senses basically. Many children who seek sensory behaviours are thrill seekers like George. They have trouble sitting still. They may become bored and uncomfortable quickly and when required to sit still, so like fidgety, which is like George all over. So I'm not sure how good you can see me here. It's commonplace for jumping off high places, off furniture, playgrounds. George broke his leg jumping off a wall at the playground when he was about, how old was he, 5?
Yeah.
5. Like misjudging the height and stuff like that. Smelling objects, particularly getting close to you and smelling things like which normally you wouldn't. You notice it looks a little bit odd. Seeking intense movement, so enjoying jumping, hitting things, hugging, like rough play, being upside down, swinging, spinning, which is a massive one for George. Not so much Matthew with the spinning, but George definitely. Getting hurt often due to not being able to coordinate their bodies as well as a neurotypical child. Feeling no pain, which is another one that we get with George, not so much Matthew. Matthew winces at literally a flick, but George, literally when he broke his leg, hardly really, I mean he was crying, but considering his leg, his tib and fib was snapped in half, he barely made much fuss at all. So if your causes, of sensory seeking behaviour, if your child's a thrill seeking type, it may be that they're coordinated and agile, or maybe not. If it's a case that your child may have some issues with attention, hyperactivity or ADHD possibly, or George has also got ADHD, which we don't really talk about too much because we're not that well clued up on it. It's such a massive condition that it's difficult to know what to talk about. You may notice that they've got poor body vestibular sense, so that proprioception, knowing where things are close to them, which is called poor sensory motor perception, struggling with issues with balance, motion, body space, being clumsy and uncoordinated, which is another one that affects George. Children often have challenges with balance, coordination, working out where things are in perception to their body. Speed of movement, the body's position in space is the vestibular processing. Children with difficulties in vestibular processing tend to miscalculate space between themselves and other objects, so like bang into walls when they're walking past it, that sort of thing. If your child is struggling with proprioceptive processing, you notice your child struggles with the ability to be aware of where their body is compared to their surroundings, which is what I've just said. They may also be slow to crawl, walk, run due to poor bilateral control. We didn't really notice that so much with R2. They were pretty early walkers and crawlers and movers, but then every child's different. So what can you do about sensory seeking? What activities could you do to help for sensory seeking? So I've written down like a list of stuff. Jumping on trampoline. This is all stuff that could hopefully stop them doing it when you don't want them to be doing it. We do all this, but it still doesn't stop George, but it might help you. Jumping on trampolines, couch cushions, beds, other objects where they're not going to hurt themselves. Games that include heavy work such as wheelbarrow walking, crab walking, tug of war, playing tag, like physical games, climbing and hanging from monkey bars and jungle gyms and the like. So obviously that would hopefully stop someone climbing at home. Pushing heavy wagons like pull carts, things like that. Wearing a weighted vest or a weighted backpack. Well, George has been wearing a backpack for ages, like with loads of stuff in it, which is why we got this sensory vest from the company at the first part of the video. So we're hoping that might help him, just help with his sensory feedback. Pushing with feet, hands against resistance. So like I do that with them sometimes, like lie on their feet and get them to push me and stuff like that. Using heavy blankets. Well, we've had a weighted blanket before. The only problem we found with it is washing the thing. It was a nightmare, but it was pretty cool. Wrestling, bear hugs, that sort of thing. Well, George and Matthew both like rough and tumble play, obviously. And you could do it a bit more controlled. Gymnastics or tumbling. Well, George, I think, will enjoy doing gymnastics, but it's getting him to have the ability to understand the instructions of a class, and if it's got other kids in there, it's a bit difficult because it wouldn't really be fair on them. Fidget toys, so you could take fidget toys to school. George is not one for fidget toys, Matthew does like them, but that's another thing. Swimming, massage lotion on arms, hands and feet. Well, we do the tack pack sometimes. We haven't done it for quite a while actually. He hasn't asked for a while, but George likes doing tack packs, so does Matthew, which is all about touch, sensory touch. We have done a video which I'll put in the link in the description, a link in the top corner, so you can see a tack pack video if you wanted to see that. Turning lights off to calm the environment. We do that towards bedtime. Linear movements like swinging. Well, they like the parks, playgrounds, all things like that. Roller coaster stuff. They love like fast rides. And then there's a couple of others that say chewing gum, which we can't really do with George because he'd eat it, but for older kids it might be good. Beef jerky, that sort of thing, and rocking. So that's some things you can do to help feed the sensory seeking behaviour. Hopefully that's a help to some of you, and if not, it gives you a bit of an idea of what we're dealing with here, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye for now. George, like that. Sneeze. Not yet.